episode number 14 of Winning the Journey Within podcast. Today we have something special. Sam van Rossom's story isn't just about basketball, it's about belonging, overcoming, and what it means to stay connected to a team, a city, and a role for over a decade. The Belgian point guard who spent 10 years with Valencia and anchored Belgium's national team brings us a conversation filled with insight, humor, and heart. We are diving into identity, injury, loyalty, and the mental playbook no one ever sees, exploring what it truly takes to be not just a player, but a quiet leader and ultimate teammate. I'm just going to start by thanking you for accepting this invitation and for agreeing to talk to me about some important stuff and basketball.
Welcome. It's a pleasure.
Welcome to Winning the Journey Within.
Oh, nice title.
Thank you. So I had the pleasure to follow your career a little bit because you've played with Bojan Dubljević, and in Montenegro we felt like obligation to follow Valencia for so many years. And then I had the pleasure to actually meet you, and that's been great. So I know who you are on the court. Everybody knows who you were on the court as of right now. But I But I just want you to introduce yourself as Sam, somebody outside of the court.
So I'm Sam. I'm 38 years old. I have 2 kids with my girlfriend Diana. Born and raised in Ghent, Belgium. Been abroad for over 15 years, and now I'm back home. And basically, if you want to know a little bit more about the person, I would say I can be really stubborn, hard-willing, but a pretty social guy, most people say. And yeah, that's about it, I think. I don't know what I should add more.
But those qualities work well for an athlete, for a basketball player, especially point guard, huh?
Yeah, but I think in general, I think all professional athletes have a little bit of that, no? A hard will, and the stubbornness is good in that sense that you will try to do everything you can in order to perceive. So I think a lot pro athletes have that capacity.
Nice, I agree. And as a point guard, how does that work? Being stubborn and being the main guy on the court, and building this relationship with the coach and with the players.
Sometimes that's a little bit harder there. No, I think you have to take in consideration what the coach wants, because in the end, as a point guard, you are the piece that is connecting the coach with the players on the court, basically. And also, you're probably the guy on the team. Okay, I've had some teammates who were thinking with me or with the coaches, but most of the teammates, it's basically the coach and the point guard that are running the team. So you really have to have a good relationship with the coach, understanding each other, understanding what the coach wants from you, but also how he wants the team to play, because every coach, I think, is different there. There's not one coach who has the same expectations of how he wants to play as a team as another. So you have to adapt to what the coach wants, because some coaches, for example, want to play up-tempo game, others want to play more half-court 5-on-5, others want to look in the post-up, others want to play more pick-and-roll. It's a lot of tactical things, basically, that you have to take in consideration, but I think the most important part is that you have a good relationship with your coach, and also a relationship where when you have a different opinion than your coach, you should be able to out it and to talk about it with him. And like that, I think you get to the best solution, because in the end, the player on the court sometimes has a completely different feeling of what's happening on the court than a coach sometimes. So I think that's one of the most important things to do, is to establish a good relationship with your coach on a personal base, but also on a professional base, in this kind of sense that you have to be able to have a solid discussion of both opinions and get out with the best solution. And then towards your teammates, of course, you have automatically more a role of a leader in your team. It's part of the job that comes with it. Basically, they listen to you when you call a play. You try to gather them together in more difficult moments. All that kind of stuff is things that basically you have to do as a point guard. And I think it's an important role in the team that I always took pretty serious. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of responsibility and a big
exactly.
responsibility to adapt to the different coaches and to teammates and adapt your role.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Also adapt to teammates, because basically your task is to get the best out of every teammate. So it's a lot of thinking sometimes, but in order to make the team better, it's if every individual performs on the way he can, your team will become better too, because basically your team is put together based on the qualities of every player. And if every player gets to play at the highest quality, then your team will be better too.
yeah, and how much pre-thinking do you do? Did you do? I keep thinking,
Rethinking, you mean for games?
yeah, of your teammates, of your
But a lot, because the thing is, like, okay, it's above all in the beginning of the season. A new coach comes in, puts his entire system, a lot of plays and this kind of things. But you need to be basically the computer on the court, so you you need to recall all these plays. What I did a lot was writing down all the plays on paper, and I was studying them at home. Certainly in the beginning of the season, once you had a better understanding of the whole tactical part, it goes more fluently and more naturally, I would say. But in the beginning of the season, the first month, 2 months is really important for a point guard to understand the tactical plan and also to understand the qualities of your teammates in order to bring them in the best possible positions to be able to perform at their best.
yeah. I figured that.
And also understanding how the guys are in general, because I think it's an underestimated thing also for coaches a lot of times, that the way you speak to different people is not the same. You cannot, one guy can really take it if you go on a more, how would you say, a harsh way of talking, and the other guy needs a little bit more of a subtle way to say something. So I mean, it's important to and to know the difference between in the team between the different guys.
Yeah, it's same with us, with women, and they always used to say we are hard to deal with. It's so many women, so many personalities, but I feel like it's the same with the guys too. It's
Yeah,
still a lot of different personalities and coming to them in different way and also like all of those changes during the season. It's not one day, it's 9 to 10 months, you keep going. People are going through a lot of things and you have to adapt to all of these situations. So I'm happy
exactly.
to hear it's with the guys the same. It's not just with us. But
No,
how
but
do
it's normal. It's human. It's human.
I
So
guess so. But let's go back to your beginnings. Like you had a pretty awesome career, and I want to talk to you about how did you get to set those goals for yourselves? Did you do that on purpose? Was this something that just came to you as you were practicing and growing with the ball? Like how did that go with you?
of course, like every basketball player, of every professional athlete, I think it starts with the dream when you're a kid. No, you watch the NBA, for example. In our case, my idol was Michael Jordan, of course, because that was the time that everybody's idol was Michael Jordan. So you dream of the NBA, but once you start to grow and you develop your own game, and then you start to put maybe more, I would say, realistic goals, but between how you call this in English, I don't know, uh, because I always thought that it was more important to advance with baby steps, more important than larger steps. Why? Because if you, I always talked about it like with putting flags. I put my goals, I put a little flag, 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 flag. And I think if you put a goal every time during a year, it's better to put, for example, 10 goals that are in baby steps than two goals that are steps like that. Because once you don't reach a bigger step like that, you can feel really disappointed, and it can cause a lot of frustration, I think. So that was my mindset on this, and also I took it like that for my entire career, basically. I played in Belgium. I felt like I shouldn't leave Belgium before I was a dominant player in Belgium. So I started playing there as a rookie first. Of course, I made a lot of mistakes, but I always gave 100% on the court, which is something that's really important also for a coach and for your teammates to see. That, okay, we put this guy on the court, but we know he's going to do everything that's in his possibilities in order to help us, and he will make mistakes, yes, but if he plays like this, it's okay. So, and then you get to your second year, you basically have to confirm, and then your third year is basically the step. For example, in my case, was the step where you say, okay, now I feel like I'm a dominant player in this league, and maybe it's time to put it to go for a next step. No, next step meaning abroad, a bigger league in Europe. And then I was discussing a lot with my agent, okay, where we go, because different offers came in. And also there we decided to make a smaller step first in order to later on make a bigger step. Because I think it's important, okay, if you're ready for a bigger step, you take a bigger step. Luka Doncic, for example, didn't need small steps. He's a huge talent. He was working well, went to Madrid on a young age, immediately came into the first team, and his evolution went super fast. But those are exceptions. This is not something that is happening every year with 5 guys, for example. So I did the same. I moved abroad. I first went to a team where you were, okay, here you're going to get your playing time, which is important for a young guy. Are you going to play to win the league? No, probably not. But you will be in a decent team that will compete to get into the playoffs. And like this, you start to grow and you get to know the different levels in the competition as well. So that was basically a little bit the plan throughout my entire career, that only I wanted to make a next step when I really felt ready for it. And that's something that nowadays sometimes young guys have a harder time with, no, the patience of building up something. And some opportunities come and you don't want to let them pass, but sometimes it's better to take a different path, a more patient path to success, I would say. So yeah, the goals are important. But as I said, I would always put reachable goals. I wouldn't put goals that are very hard to get to, because then frustration and disappointment can hit pretty hard.
That's awesome. Pretty wise for a young guy who started off like.
I mean, everybody has his own opinions about this. I've seen guys say, dream big and make immediately the step. Okay, if you're able to do it, yes. But if you have doubts, it's better to put smaller goals.
And then you, from Italy, you went to Spain. You stayed
Yes.
there for a long time, Saragossa, then
Mhm.
Valencia for 10 years.
Yes.
So that's pretty awesome. That's something that I aspired to do, but it wasn't working for my career.
I
I like.
mean, there's a lot of things to say about that. It was 10 years with my brother, with Dubi. It was 10 amazing years. But it's, how would you explain this? It's a sum of different aspects, because there's different factors to this. There's a little bit of luck. It's a little bit of certain situations coming your path on certain times that are maybe not the good timing or the exact good timing. Um, it's there's a lot of variables that can influence the fact that you stay in one team for 10 years or not. Because basically my story, after 4 years, it could have been over perfectly. So
What are some pros and cons of playing for 10 years in the same place? Like, what is it that you feel like you missed in those 10 years of maybe going in different teams, different countries? Do you feel like you missed out on something? Or
my focus was really on my sportive goals. So you have guys also that play and want to have a lot of different teams to meet new cultures and all that kind of stuff, and they compete on a good level, but they also have the side part eventually that, okay, I want to get to learn this new culture of how they live there. For example, let me go 1 year to China, let me go 1 year to Russia, let me go 1 year to Montenegro, 1 year to Belgium, 1 year there, and then you build up a career like this, and it's perfectly fine. But for me, the pros, I would definitely say you have some kind of stability that can help you to perform better. Because in my case, for example, Valencia really felt like a second home to me. After 2-3 years, I felt super comfortable in the club. Um, and once you find a place like that, and you realize, okay, it's a nice place. It's living circumstances are great. The club was great. Ambitious club who wants to make the next steps in order to be a fixed team in EuroLeague. So all that kind of stuff. And the 10 years I was there, we played 5 years EuroLeague. So you're basically on one of the highest levels. Okay, you say you want to make a next step up. The next step up would be Real Madrid, Barcelona, or one of the top teams in EuroLeague, you know? So the pro is definitely that I'm also a guy who needed that stability in order to perform well. I think if I would have changed every year from team, I would be a lot more uncertain, probably a lot more under stress. It's a different thing when you play, when you know that you have a deal for 3 years already on the table and that you have stability and security for 3 years, than when you end your contract, for example, because then pressure is higher to perform well, to show that, hey, I deserve to be on this level. Either you keep me, or I will find another team on this level, and in order not to go down, because at the end what we want is to play on the highest level possible. So I would say pro for sure, the stability. On the other hand, the cons, I don't know if there's really a lot of a lot of cons. The thing is, like, if you're in a team like that, okay, maybe a certain time you might get a little bit tired, to say so, of a situation, or you want to make a step up, and if possible you want to make a step up, and you don't know if it's going to work, yes or no. But yeah, the cons, I don't really see a lot of cons. A lot of people would say that maybe you get too comfortable, that you're not, how you say, challenging yourself at 100% anymore after a while. But I didn't really experience this, not even one day, because I was always there. I was grateful to be there, and I always gave my 100% every single day on practice or on games. So yeah, I don't really see a lot of cons. It's an exceptional situation because those days you don't see it that often. That a player, that certainly not players from abroad. Okay, homegrown players maybe more often, but players from abroad, like for example, JC Carroll stayed for so long in Real Madrid. Coser did the same now the last couple of years. Dubi and me in Valencia, for example. But then also you have Spanish guys is maybe in Spain a little more common, like, okay, Rudy, Felipe Reyes, Sergio Yul, all those guys. They stay for a long time in Madrid. In Valencia, we had Rafa Martinez, who stayed there for a long time. So maybe for foreigners in the country, it's even more difficult to do it. But okay, I'm very happy with the situation, how it went, actually. Yeah.
Awesome. And you mentioned the situation 3-4 years in Valencia, and then you guys had a great season. You actually won the championship, and you were the one who was injured in the playoffs
Mhm.
and didn't play. And how did that feel, like being there but not really being able to contribute in the way that you wanted to?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was tough. It was really two-sided, basically, because okay, the whole situation. I will maybe start with the whole situation. No, like the year before, I had a knee injury, which was pretty bad. I was out for 10 months. So in the beginning of that season, I came back, but I was still, my knee during that season was basically never 100%, and I felt it, and it caused a lot of frustration, and because you couldn't do anymore what you did before, on a physical way mostly. So I had to adapt my game a little bit to the problems I had with the knee. And then besides, that was my last year of contract. So the situations we talked before, was that year was mentally also exhausting, because I was between the choice, like, okay, what do we do, because I feel the knee is not 100%. Should we go back to surgery and see if we can solve something, or should I keep playing? Because okay, you're in your last year of contract, and I always thought like, okay, if I go back to surgery now, I have 2 knee surgeries in 2 years. Like all the teams that put a stamp on your head, like this guy is basically not done, but he will never get back to the same player as he was before because knee injuries. I had my cartilage problems, which was bad. So I really pushed through that season. And tried to do the best I could because I had the some kind of knife above my head about a contract situation, and I wanted to keep playing until, and basically that season, in the beginning of the season, I didn't play a lot. My role was completely different than the years before. Until Christmas was very hard to manage because you want to play. I was back then. I was supposed to be on my prime basically, so I didn't want to play only 10 minutes a game. We had 3 point guards: was Vives, Dio, and me. Which of course was a lot of quality on the point guard position, but I felt like I could give more to the team, and that was frustrating at a certain point. And then there came a point in the season where both other point guards got injured, and then I all at once had to start to play a lot, and I found some rhythm. We lost the final of Copa del Rey, then we lost the final of Eurocup as well, in a very tough loss against Malaga at home. And then basically I get injured right before the start of the playoffs because then on practice I jumped and I felt another hit on my knee, and I knew, okay, now it's basically done. I will not be able to play because, okay, now playing playoffs 1 game every 2 days without the time to rest or anything, it's gonna be very hard. And then I decided to undergo surgery in, I think it was beginning of June, and missed the playoffs. And then obviously, okay, you would say you missed the playoffs, and imagine if your team doesn't get the title, you would say like, okay, I missed the playoffs, but it's okay, like. But now you win this title, and it's like, oh, you contributed the entire season, but then at the moment that you want to play for the title, you cannot be there and not help your team. It's really tough,
So
it's hard.
how do you process those moments? How did you process it? How did you go through it?
But it was a really difficult time because also at that time I basically knew that I was not going to go back to Valencia the next year because, okay, the second knee injury was basically killing it all. And then you see your team has success because I actually came back home to do the surgery in Belgium and start up my rehab in Belgium, and I went back for the finals only. I wasn't there for the semifinals or the quarterfinals, but I was still in touch a lot with the guys because the team atmosphere that year was just amazing. The locker room was great, and that's also the reason why we were still able to win the championship, because it had been a very, very tough season. We were building with the same group for the second year that year, and we had great results actually, because, okay, if you go to two finals of two possible finals in the season, you cannot say it's a bad thing. Only the cherry on the cake was missing, because you lost the Copa final with 1 point, you lost the Eurocup final with on an unbelievable way, maybe even. And then this team was so resilient that they just said in the playoffs, okay, let's go. Let's make the best of it, and then let's see where we get. And then actually the team started to play on an incredible level. But the quarterfinals, we were actually this far or this close of being eliminated, because I don't know if you recall, Mima, but
I
we
don't.
played against
Yes.
Barcelona in the quarterfinals, and we had the third game at home. And I think with a couple of seconds left, there was Renfrew took a shot, and the shot really went out like tack, 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 super slow.
It was yours.
And then we basically won that game. But I mean, it's what, half a centimeter. If that ball would have gone in, our season was over in the quarterfinals, most probably. So, and then we moved on, and I think then that's where the team made a click also, like, hey, this is like some kind of sign, and the bad luck is done. We're in a good moment now. And then they start to play amazing basketball again in the semifinals and the finals, because in the end we were a Eurocup team back then. but we eliminated Barcelona, Baskonia, and Madrid in the finals. So the three EuroLeague teams of Spain, we got them all on the way to the championship. Yeah.
Um, so uh, after this, you had to go to Eurobasket with your national team. You were preparing for this moment. How
Mhm.
did you feel then, and what happened with the contract for next season?
Obviously, I was without a deal after the ACB finals. I left Valencia, and I thought I was never going to go back. I mean, not as a player of Valencia Basket, going back on holidays, yes, for sure, but but as a player, no. So you say goodbye to everybody you got to know in those 4 years, and basically I started to work out like a fool because I wanted to be on the Eurobasket in order to show other teams as well, like, hey, I'm healthy again, the surgery went well, I'm back to playing on a high level. That rehab was crazy because it was 2 months and a half of every day 6-7 hours of work, but really every single day it was 6 on 7. I had one day off, and then it was every single day 6 to 7 hours. So, but with the goal in my head to play the Eurobasket. So then I was talking to our national team board as well, and they bought in on the plan as well, because they could have well said like, "Hey Sam, listen, it's gonna be hard. You're gonna come out of your rehab. Maybe it's better we take another guy with us to the Eurobasket, because in the end it's what 5 games on 6 days, and you come from this injury." But they basically bought in with the entire idea, and I made it just on time. The knee was feeling great, actually. I joined the team, I think, 10 days before the Eurobasket, and then went to Eurobasket and actually had no problems at all. I was feeling very good, very physically fresh, but mentally also was a great moment for me, because I was okay. I'm back. I'm back to healthy. I can play 5 games in 6 days. It's great, but I was still without a contract, So it's a risk as well, but it turned out pretty well. And then after Eurobasket, basically, I was still without a team. It was halfway September, I think. So I went back home and I started to practice with the team I always played with in Belgium, with Austin, to stay in shape. And I was just waiting for an offer, basically. Actually, I was thinking that I was gonna be way more nervous at that time, but I was pretty calm. I was like, okay, now it's just waiting for the right opportunity to come and to sign with the team. I was talking a lot with my agent, also not to. Okay, I already had a couple of offers, but I wanted to keep the doors open for EuroLeague offers, of course, because I wanted to get back to EuroLeague. So basically, we were only looking for the EuroLeague market, which is way more difficult, certainly at that time of the season, because most teams are basically made. They are practicing. They are starting up the season, the local season, eventually. And okay, you would realize that it's possible you would have to wait until October or November until those teams make their first changes, or unfortunately another player gets hurt and there's a position that opens up in one of those teams. So I basically was mentally prepared to wait for a while. There were some teams calling with interest and nothing really concrete. And then at a certain moment, I think at the Super Cup in Spain, Antoine Dio in Valencia gets hurt on the knee as well, and they called and they say, "Okay, Sam, do you want to come back?" And now in the beginning, I was like, "Oh." I wasn't that convinced, honestly, to go back immediately, because it's hard. Meanwhile, you go, you say goodbye to everything. You get out of your apartment. You move all your stuff. My stuff was still in boxes and at the gym in Valencia, ready to be sent to wherever I was going to go. But
You
so
probably
everything.
just made peace with it, and
Excuse me.
you probably just made peace with it, with the decision, with the leave from Valencia, and then they come back.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's what it was. Because to me, it was hard to leave that place because I really loved that place. So when they said it was over, for me, it was hard to go. But then towards the end of the summer, you're basically in your head, you're like, okay, it's over, it's done, time for something new. And then they call and they say, you want to come back? And I was like, I say, I have to think about this. And I also, we talked with my agent, with the family and everybody, and they were all saying like, hey, Sam, you should take this opportunity. And I was like, yeah, but it's going to be kind of weird because it's you're going back to a place where you've been for 4 years, but everything will be different. It's not going to be the same anymore. And they're like, yeah, but it will take a time, maybe 1 month, 2 months, maybe, and after you will forget about all this. I say, okay. So then I went back, but the going back was was weird because it's still the same guys. Okay, the team was quite different. They signed some new guys, but the doctors, the physios, the people around the team were still the same. But you walk in the locker room, you don't go to your same locker. No, there's another locker now because another guy already took yours from last year. My apartment was gone. Basically, Doobie was in my apartment back then.
You could have handled that with him.
Yeah, I could have. We could have probably lived together, but I was like, oh man, let's keep our personal space. but 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 yeah, I mean, it was tough in the first month because you would go back to a place where everything was super familiar, but some kind of way it was still different, you know. And okay, it took a month and a half, and then it's like they said, basically forget about all it, and it was like you're back home, you know.
And
But that's where I wanted to go also before, where I said, okay, you have 10 years in the same team, but it depends on circumstances. Because if Antoine Diot back then doesn't get hurt, I would never go back to Valencia probably. Uh, some other team might have come in October or November, and I was going to go somewhere else. So that's where I say you need to be a little bit lucky with the circumstances as well, you know.
But in all this process, from the first injury, second injury, before playoffs, going through playoffs, knowing not staying there, now you need to work even harder to come back and show that you are ready to be on the same
Mhm.
level. Then getting this opportunity to go back in Valencia, it's so many aspects that are very difficult and very tough on your mental and on your emotional level. So
Yeah.
in all these moments, did you ever like search for any kind of help, or did you handle it all yourself? Where did you find the support?
I mean, the support is basically my closed ones, but they also know that whenever I go to trouble like this, or problems, it's not problems, maybe a big word, but going through a situation like this, I mostly close myself and I try to find solutions on my own. You know, it's been something that I've been doing basically my entire life. Okay, you talk with people about the problems, but it's still up to you to make the decisions that you have to take. Yeah, I was a lot on my thoughts were a lot on myself. I wasn't really sharing it with a lot of people. Probably my parents, my girlfriend, and my brother. But besides that, not too many people really knew a lot of what was going on. Certainly not the whole year before the injury. Also was really tough to bear, and okay, I had the support of them. Which was to me the most important. Those are the people that basically talk to you on a daily basis or are with you on a daily basis. So they are your biggest support, and they basically know everything what's going on. So you would take your problems there rather than to go to somebody that you completely don't know. And okay, I know, for example, psychologist or something could have helped, or something like that. But that was really a guy, and maybe a little bit the stubbornness that comes back again. That I wanted to solve my own problems, and okay, for me it worked out pretty well. I would say I didn't really feel the need of going somewhere external to find some help.
Yeah. And you mentioned your girlfriend a few times, and she's also a basketball player. She was a
Mhm.
basketball player, so well known, an Olympian. So how much does that relationship help in dealing with everyday basketball situations, but also these tough ones?
Of course, it helps because she understands perfectly how you feel because she's been through the same things, probably. You know, if I come back after a bad practice and I say it's been a bad practice, she knows that the first hour and a half, she doesn't have to ask too many different things, like it's the same with the game. If I had a bad game or whatever, I come home and you're not the most enjoyable guy at that time. But then she realized that pretty easy, and she was like, okay, I am knowing me as well, as I said before, that I try to solve a lot of my problems on my own. She would give me my space basically and just let me do my thing, and then after a while I always get back through. Also, a bad game when you're 22 looks way worse than a bad game when you're 32. It's not the same anymore. You start to realize once you're 32, there's a lot more than to this life than just basketball. Everybody has a bad game every now and then, but when you're a 22-year-old, when I was 22 years old, I had a bad game and it could last a week until the next game, until I started to feel better again. But then with time you start to realize that, hey, this makes no sense, like it's like that. Nobody in an entire season is gonna have only top games. Everybody's gonna have a bad game at one point. So you better just get over it quick and start to look to the future instead of all the time going back and looking, oh, what went wrong. Okay, it's good to see and to reflect on what went wrong, but it cannot take a week. It can take one night, one morning, but then you have to start to move on and go to the next game. And I think that's something that you learn by experience, that by growing older it goes more automatically. In the beginning, everything, you also have this feeling that you have to perform at your top level every single day, and if not, it's not good. And actually that's the good mentality, but it can have a negative effect on the other side, that if you stay too long in those periods, it's going to be a negative effect on you.
Exactly, exactly. And on the other way, like you were there for her, for your girlfriend during her career and during the tough times that she had, and injury in important
Mhm.
moments also, but also in great moments when she went to Olympic Games and stuff like that. And you two seem like you find a perfect balance into completing each other in those moments, stepping away when it's needed and stepping in when it's needed. How
Yeah.
did you feel in those? How did you manage her career in your eyes? How does that?
But her career has been great too. Like I remember when they got the bronze medal at the Eurobasket. The first, I think, was 2017. That was actually the year where I was really struggling. I remember when they had the Eurobasket. I just went like 2 days to Prague to support the team because they played then semifinals and then the game for the third place. I went with some friends and I went there and we had a blast, But also then the fact of celebrating those things together is huge, because for Belgian basketball back in the day, that bronze medal was huge. It was the first time in history that a Belgian basketball team got a medal, I think. Um, but then also we had the other way, that before the Eurobasket, I think, was in Valencia, or first France, then Valencia. She broke her thumb on a very silly way in the train when they were on the way to France, basically to start the Eurobasket 3 days before. She put her bag on the train and she wanted to push, and at the moment she pushed, she feels something in her thumb and she's like, okay, I will, it's okay, it won't be too bad. And then she fell asleep and she woke up and the hand was like this. So then, like this, she broke her thumb. She had to undergo surgery. So imagine 3 days before Eurobasket,
Yeah, I can
this
imagine.
happens.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I said, this is bad. Like if this would happen to me, I would probably, I don't
Break
know.
my thumb.
I will maybe break my other hand out of frustration, but but she went to the hospital. She underwent surgery, and then okay, it was a difficult time for her to carry, because then you look on the TV to the games. Then we went to Valencia to see the final phase, and you see emotionally it's a roller coaster, because obviously she wanted to be there, but I knew perfectly what she was going through because I had the same thing not just a couple of months before. So then you really get an understanding of each other, that okay, like you perfectly know in this situation what the other person needs. And it's something that I think can help a lot, and get a lot of frustration out of the way, because I think sometimes there are people who are not going through the same, who are just seeing it from the outside, sometimes will not have the same understanding of how hard it is to go through something like this, because mentally and emotionally it is hard. It is hard. There's
Exactly.
nothing else,
Nothing can match that support, that kind of support.
No, I don't think so.
Um, and then, like, now, can we talk about the way we met? This transition
FIBA
period,
timeout.
the transition period that you are in
Yeah.
right now. How does that feel? Like, how, do you think like you prepared yourself well during playing years, or did you do something
Honestly,
different?
yeah, I've been talking the last couple of years of my playing career. I've been talking to a lot of teammates that I played with before who recently retired or were thinking about retiring as well. And what I've noticed is that everybody took a different path. There's not, okay, you can say prepare yourself, you start to study. I know a guy who did some studies and then he started the job in something completely else. So I was like, okay, is the study he did completely lost or useless? No, it's not. He gathered some knowledge. But on the other hand, he didn't do anything with the whole he prepared the whole thing during his end of career, but then went into a completely different direction, for example.
He figured
So
what he doesn't want to do.
yeah, maybe yes. And then you had other guys who didn't do anything at all and found their way as well. So I was like, okay, let me. That's where I put in my mind, like, let me enjoy this last part of this basketball career as much as possible without having too many other things to think about on the side. Because in the end, you start to realize that you're closing a part of your life that has been, yeah, your passion for your entire life. Basically, this is your childhood dream that becomes somehow a reality, and you basically live your dream in that sense, that you do your hobby as a job. And I don't think there's anything that's more beautiful in the world than be able to do that. Somebody who can do his hobby as a job, I think, is the happiest guy on earth. Because also being realistic, seeing people around you, your friends and all that kind of stuff, then you hear stories like, okay, I'm doing this job because I need money for a living, but this is not exactly really what I want to do, but I have to do it now in order to make some next steps. And then you realize how lucky you are in the situation you are, because you play a game as your job, which is amazing. And in the beginning I always said, like, no, I will play till 35 and I stop. And then I got to 34 and I was like, say no way, as long as I can, because it's a nice life. Okay, you have to give up on a lot of things as well, but I think if you're passionate about the sport and that's the thing that you like to do the most in your life, you want to do it as long as possible and you want to enjoy it the longest possible. So I during my career I had like 2-3 moments where I started up something like a study, but I always somehow I never really pushed through. The commitment I have and everything for my sport was so hard to bring it up on the studies, for example, at that time, that I was like, I don't know, let's just enjoy this ride to the fullest and then let's see after what comes. And now, talking about this transitioning, of course, my last year in Valencia, I started to do a management study with collaboration of ELPA, the EuroLeague Player Association. So I finished that course. That was a master course. And then basically last year, our federation came to me and said, I already saw that on Waters and Axel Hevel did this program, and I told them, like, hey, if they ever do this program again, I would be interested to jump in eventually. So they called me and they were like, yeah, FIBA is doing another timeout program. Do you want to join? I was like, yeah, of course, it would be fun. Like, I can learn some new things. I can get in touch with new people again. So, and that's where we are now. We met each other in September in Newcastle, which was great experience to see so many basketball players or ex-basketball players together trying to find their way in this transition to the second part of your life, sharing experiences of what we do. And it's nice because then you see also again those different paths that everybody took. I wouldn't say there is one way to prepare for your after career. There's a lot of different possibilities. that you also have to explore personally. I mean, I'm in the lucky situation where now I can say, okay, in the next 1 to 2 years, I want to see what direction I really want to go, and in order to take the best decision there. Right now, I'm doing a lot of different smaller projects to see where my interest is really in. So that's the point where I am right now, and I'm actually glad with the way it's going. I didn't expect it to be like this. I thought, okay, in the beginning, you're gonna be bored. You're not gonna know what to do. And then, okay, the first 2 3 months, once you're done playing, you're like, okay, it's nice. But after 2 3 months, you start, okay, what's next? Like you got to do something. You're 38 years old. You're not gonna sit on your ass the entire day and just be like, nice life. It's better to stay active somehow. And then I found like 5 6 different projects that I'm working on right now that is basically fun to do.
Do you miss it? Do you miss basketball?
A lot of people ask me that question already, but I have to. I don't know if it's a disappointment for me. It's a confirmation of the decision I took, because playing basketball right now, I'm not missing playing the game. I think the last couple of years, I suffered maybe too much on the physical way, which I still enjoyed last year. Also going to practice and being around the guys, and that's the thing I miss the most. The locker room, the things around the game, the atmosphere of being with 12 guys and just a long bus trip and having some fun, playing some cards, I don't know, doing some silly stuff, but enjoying those things. Those are the things that I miss the most, like after a game, talk to people, get to knowing different people. Right now, I'm doing different projects where the social aspect is a little bit less than what it used to be. But so that's basically the things I miss the most. But the game itself, it's not like I have this feeling in me like I need to go back to touch a basketball and start to play a little bit, not even on a lower level, because honestly, in Newcastle, we played this 3-on-3 tournament that 2 days after my knees were still hurting. So it's a sign that your body gives you that, okay, it's good, stop it, don't do it again.
What you made there.
Yeah. So I don't miss it. I don't miss it. No.
Yeah. It was great talking to you. We came to an end. We came to conclusions of out
Uh,
of those, and I'm so grateful that you accepted my invitation. That we talked about your career and what you went through as a basketball player, and what you're going through right now as somebody who's transitioning into new roles. Thank you so much, Sam.
it was my pleasure, Milica. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.